Time, death, the insignificance of our issues. Memes. What do all of these have in common? They all are, in some way, shape, or form, part of the history, impact, and meaning of the song, Ruler of Everything. Let's discuss it. Tally Hall is a 2000s indie rock band that has recently exploded in popularity thanks to meme culture and repeated use in social media apps like TikTok, but we'll get to that later. Made up of 5 members, each one represented by their ties, the members being the yellow Rob Cantor, the grey Ross Fetterman, the red Joe Hawley, the green Andrew Horowitz, and the blue Zubin Seji. Their interesting career started in 2003, and from then until 2011 they released a multitude of demos, but more importantly, 2 studio albums, Marvin's Marvelous Mechanical Museum in 2005 and Good and Evil in 2011. The former contains a lot of studio versions of songs they'd worked on for years. Case in point, their first release, an EP titled Party Booby Trap, has the final track of the album feature a familiar face, an early version of the song Ruler of Everything. This is the first song written by member Joe Hawley, and it's here where he starts his songwriting career.
Mechanical hands are the ruler of everything. Ruler of everything. I'm the ruler of everything in the end.
The song would later appear on the demo album Complete Demos and in one of Joe's student films, and then finally appear on Tally Hall's album debut, Marvin's Marvelous Mechanical Museum, and once again on the re-recorded version released in 2007. Each version of the song develops until it reaches its final product, that being one of the best songs in the Tally Hall discography. The song itself is in a dreary tone, and the final version of the song slows it down ever so slightly so it exists in a much more foreign sound. Backwards messages and other recordings are found frequently in the song, and overall it acts as an interesting commentary. A commentary on what, you may ask? Well, Ruler of Everything analyzes the concept of time being endless and the purpose of humanity in the world. Let me explain myself.
Juno was mad, he knew he'd been had, so he shot at the sun with a gun. Shot at the sun with a gun. Shot at his wily one, only friend.
At the core of these lyrics, moving past Juno briefly, this line here at its core is about the powerlessness of getting angry at something like the sun. Shooting at the sun with a gun is in vain, it won't change the grand scheme of things, and overall it's an action that results in nothing. It's a line about futility. Juno does not represent the goddess Juno, as Juno is a woman, yet they explicitly use he and his to describe his gender. And the sun does not represent the sun. Juno represents humanity, and the sun represents time, and the shootout represents the anger and emotion humanity harbors towards time, which every human does have at some point in their life or the other. What's interesting is this final line, shot at his wily one only friend. Wily one only friend is of course referring to time, but why characterize time like this? Well, time is a character. It's a thing we have a limited amount of. We can be on time, or out of time, or wasting someone's time, or losing or winning time. We can have time on our side, we can waste time, we can spend it wisely. We can have time against us. But time isn't something we can really control, as much as we can try. Time moves at a consistent pace of a second per second, whether we like it or not. Time is cunning, time is sneaky, time can slip on by before we even know it, time can be agonizingly But in the end, time is our friend. Without time, we can't accomplish anything. Time is something none of us really understand, but we know it's here, it isn't going away, and yet humanity still harbors anger towards this unstoppable force. It doesn't matter if we're trying to pretend we don't have a limited amount of time. It doesn't matter if we get angry for not having enough, time marches on. Time is our friend, and yet time rules over all of us. We cannot change time, and this is the crux of the song. That time will always march on whether we like it or not, and it is humanity's wily one only friend in our big and empty cosmos, whether we like it or not.
In the gallows or the ghetto, in the town or the meadow, in the billows, even over the sun, every end of a time is another begun.
This part is establishing a bunch of places that each have different connotations. Dark and harsh places like gallows, or calm places like meadows, or in more nondescript, more abstract places like billows or over the sun. It doesn't really matter where we are in nondescript places like the sun, or in the town, or the meadow, or the gallows. Every end of a time is another begun. Like a snake eating its own tail, time never truly ends. And that tends to be a frightening concept for a lot of people.
You understand mechanical hands, or the ruler of everything. Ruler of everything. I'm the ruler of everything in the end.
Mechanical hands rule over everything. Hands are the most symbolized part of the human body and tend to represent everything from consciousness to authority, but hands tend to be tools of authority and control, and mechanical hands are representative of the hands of a clock. So the meaning is not just that time is the ruler of everything in the end, how time never ends, but how mechanical hands on a clock dictate our lives to a degree like no other. We're all so frustrated with being on time for things, being on time for work or for school. Mechanical hands rule over our society. Time controls a lot of people, whether you like to admit it or not. At school, we worry about if we're on time for our next class, and when time will ever just inch a little faster. And when we're enjoying ourselves, we wish the pace of the ticking clock would just ever so slightly slow down. Time is most cruel to us. But even though we're dictated by time, a lot of us only really start to worry too early or too late about the amount of time we have left in general. Because humanity has found distractions.
Do you like how I dance? I got zirconium pants.
Consequential enough to slip you into a trance.
Do you like how I walk? Do you like how I talk? Do you like how my face disintegrates? I have a wonderful wife, I have a powerful job. She criticizes me for being egocentric.
Here is where we get into criticism of human mannerisms and how we care too much about certain aspects of our life. Fashion, acceptance in society, and life. These endeavors, as the song points out, are altruistic. The only thing they do is to please humanity's desires, despite, in reality, not nearly having the same amount of consequence that we think they do. Humanity is only putting on a facade, wearing zirconium pants that are just fake diamonds. Humanity only really acts in specific ways, only for those to be in vain and vanity, as in the end, we all turn to dust. We have stereotypical attributes like a wife and a job, but it's only made us focus on the way we present ourselves, and not really do anything in life. This verse ultimately wants to point out that what we do as humans and where our priorities and concerns lie are not really that important, that we should be looking back at the bigger picture.
You practice your mannerisms into the wall. If the spirit were here, I'd be standing so tall. So you swap her over clovers on the side of the hill. I was observing the birds.
I've been you, I know your facade is a scale.
You know you're making me cry, this is the way that I am. I've been living a lie, a metamorphical scheme.
Detective undercover brotherhood objective would seem.
Here's where time starts to become more aggressive, and humanity starts to become much more meek. We get time pointing out humanity's obsession with chance and luck through items like clovers, to which humanity makes the excuse that they're watching the birds, to which time rebuts with circle in for the kill. This could be a reference to the way vultures circle their prey before going in for the kill, much how time kills every human eventually. And then humanity starts to break down. They realize that time is right, that they've been living a lie, a metamorphical scheme, where they've been tricked, and time in the end was right.
Oh no, no, oh yeah.
This section right here, in case you don't have ears, has a drastic tempo change, with the drums providing a beat for a run, a fast-paced look at overall how fast and how short humanity's life is, seemingly sung from the perspective of time, but it could also represent humanity's racing thoughts as they slowly give in to time's message. They don't try to understand or comprehend how time is so infinite and vast. They give up and smile, and it gives us a little bit of hope. We don't need to understand time to be able to live.
Understand mechanical hands, all the ruler of everything. Ruler of everything. I'm the ruler of everything in the end.
Without looking down, gliding around like a bubbling dragon I fly, scraping my face on the sky. Oh no.
And with that, we return to the beginning, but now we have given up. And humanity smiles, rather than question the meaning of life and the significance of it all, and instead of trying to comprehend it, they sing along instead. You could interpret this last part as a modern retelling of the fate of Icarus, who flew too close to the sun and died, and take it as a cautionary note that humanity needs to be wary of how the world is, and try to be more caring about their time. One could also interpret it as this is what's going to happen when one doesn't care about their significance in the universe and instead smiles. They soar and scrape the face on the human limit, the sky. Whether this tells you that you should fall into time's grasp or not is up to you. Take it as you will. This is my interpretation, and I'd love to hear yours. Now that we're done with the song, I'd like to briefly touch on the music video. This video is animated in a multitude of ways: stop motion, hand-drawn, and whatever the hell this is. The plot is that these doodle fellas launch themselves into a society and then start to corrode it. To escape it, the members escape into a bathroom, and then they all die, and then there's this space fella who also comes in and dies, and he seems to turn what's well, this video is meant to reflect the message of the song, so we can start to put labels on the characters and try to interpret them based on the meaning of the song. So who does everyone represent in here? Well, I think these small guys represent time. These stop-motion people represent humanity, and this big guy represents God and/or the universe. Starting from the top, I think these small guys represent time because of the way they're framed. They start off at the beginning of the video on a seemingly alien planet, and they see an explosion in the sky, which could be interpreted as the Big Bang, but someone could also say it's the sun. I personally think it's the Big Bang because it makes more sense. So they multiply and launch themselves in and start to corrode this society that they've landed on, which is humanity. Time starts to kill off this society, and so humanity tries to escape. We also see this hand controlling the clocks, and I think this is God or the universe. God controls the universe, or the universe controls itself, and we can see that he is controlling the society and even shakes them up a little bit and plays around. But even in the end, he succumbs to time. But that's jumping a little bit too far ahead of ourselves, so let's go back to these guys. These guys seem to live the same way humans do. They work, they eat, they sleep. However, now that these guys have come into the equation, it puts a wrench in the plans. God is confused as to why they're dying, so he has them work faster to escape time. The humans launch away. Unbeknownst to them, time is still following them, and they land in God's bathroom. I'm not really sure why they do this, maybe for comedic effect, but it could be about how humanity will prosper against all odds. And humanity starts to build a society here, but then God comes in and seems shocked that they've survived, and then time strikes. The humans die, and God seems to die along with them, though it is unclear. Then the bathroom turns into a familiar-looking location. It's nearly the same as the planet we started on. Then the camera zooms out and the video ends. Though you can actually loop it, similar to how the song can loop into itself. Time is a never-ending cycle. So overall, this video perfectly complements the song. It illustrates the point that in the end, time will rule above all, even the universe, even God, and even humanity. So credit to Sean Donnelly, I'm sorry if I butchered that name, for making quite a fantastic music video. Also in the original video, this space guy was actually played by a human, which adds a pretty cool effect as we have this 2D animation, the stop motion, and then live action mixed with stop motion. Not really sure why they changed it. I guess Istanbul was Constantinople. So now that we've broken down the song and video into its core components and themes, let's discuss what happened with the song. Well, as I said earlier, Tally Hall got big recently thanks to meme culture. In fact, before this revival, they weren't very large at all, due to some mishaps regarding labels and other nonsense. They remained in relative obscurity for the longest time, left in the graveyard of music, where so much potential is left to rot. But then, everything changed, thanks to one little social media. TikTok is one of, if not the biggest social media at the moment. Starting from 2018, this app has had a stranglehold in modern culture, sparking trends, acting as free promotion for celebrities, and starting and ending multiple careers. In the case of Tally Hall, a pair of TikToks using their song Hidden in the Sand went viral, and sparked a rebirth for Tally Hall. Ruler of Everything emerged as a contender on August 30th, where the user Radial Symmetry posted a peculiar meme on Twitter of sorts using this song.
How I walk, do you like how I talk? Do you like how my face disintegrates?
Tally Hall were coming back from the dead, nearly a decade after their fall from grace. However, Ruler of Everything didn't truly explode with TikTok or Twitter. No, in fact, it was thanks to the near polar opposite of TikTok, a social media the sworn enemy of TikTok. One that stands for justice. One that stands for communities and passion. Reddit is an another social media that acts differently in nearly every way to TikTok. Instead of short sound bites that loop, it's more a bulletin board site where users can post links, images, videos, or text posts to specific communities. The culture there is completely different, one of which being the meme culture. Memes tend to come from Twitter, or 4chan, but a lot of them only really blow up on Reddit, and Ruler of Everything is no exception. It blew up because of the specific set of circumstances it was posted in, coincidentally because of another old thing being revived thanks to social media. In the same way Tally Hall emerged from the grave unexpectedly, the trollface came back again to make it clear that it will never, ever die. I don't think I have to explain what the trollface is, but for those of you who don't know, it's one of the earliest memes out there. Originating from 4chan, this face was originally the icon of the now long-forgotten rage comic trend. These comics were a product of their time, using stick figures to tell comedic stories and spawning specific memes based off of these figures, one of those being the troll face. This face became the face of internet trolls, those who would like to wreak and cause havoc online in any way possible, those who laugh at others for trying to understand what they do and how they function, those who simply smile and don't care. But like most products of its time, the trollface ran into obscurity as the early 2010s saw a blatant shift in meme culture, and it was put into the grave. But then, meme culture started to develop back in on itself, like a snake starting to eat its own tail. And this sort of ironic, self-deprecating humor started to become extremely prevalent in meme culture, and this shift led to the rebirth of a lot of old memes, one being, you guessed it, the trollface. It was this comic in particular that started what would become the second era of the trollface. It was Reddit, yet again, that led to the true resurgence. Thanks to subreddits like R196 and other subreddits dedicated to posting about this sort of stuff, the trollface started to become the face of itself in a more ironic way. The trollface became so ironically funny that it became ironically funny. The jokes led to jokes about ironically laughing about those jokes, which in turn became their own ironic jokes. At the beginning of 2021, these jokes dominated meme culture everywhere, and this dumb video from August featuring a cat in a particular song got reworked into a more troll-friendly format.
Do you like how I walk? Do you like how I talk? Do you like how my face just seems to way too sharp? I have a wonderful wife, I have a powerful job. She criticizes me for being egocentric. You practice your mannerisms into the wall. If this mirror were clear, I'd be standing.
And this video took the internet by storm. Not only was the meme itself rather popular, but the template became popularly used for other characters. The song exploded in popularity as well, and this combined with TikTok led to a new wave of fans discovering Tally Hall, which would lead to millions of streams on Spotify, represses of albums, and finally giving the band the popularity they deserved so long ago. It's one of those cosmic coincidences that happens occasionally in life that just seems unreal. The trollface and ruler of everything seem to be a perfect pair for each other. The trollface is a perfect representation of what time is portrayed like in the song, a morbid prankster that rules above all. The juxtaposition that arises from a song ultimately about how everything comes to an end besides time itself being portrayed and popularized by a meme coming back from the dead just seems too perfect. With something as ridiculous as a meme, the song can sort of represent the modern state of meme culture, where, ironically, nothing truly dies.